genre.
Doctor Who The Long Way Around, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Scott Corelli.
I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
And I'm Nick Jimenez.
And today on the show, we will be discussing Dragonfire, the Seventh Doctor's fourth story, and the introduction of Ace.
Yay.
Yay, Ace. So we get the introduction of Ace, which is probably the most important thing about this story. But we also get the return of Glitz.
There's a lot of important things in this episode, Scott.
We get the return of save it. We get the return of Glitz, which Nick is a character Nick hasn't met yet and won't meet for a while.
That's great.
But Glitz is an interesting fella. This episode is written by Ian Briggs and directed by Chris Clough or Clough. I'm not sure. But Ian Briggs is a guy who studied drama at Manchester University. Andrew Cartmel, the script editor of this era of Doctor Who, brought him in because he was like a young guy, and Andrew Cartmel wanted to bring in these young guys to sort of like shake up Doctor Who. And so far it had been working, but with Ian Briggs, Ian turned in a pitch for a Doctor Who episode, and it was like super cliched and derivative. And Andrew Cartmel was like, try again, do something else. So they threw that out. And Delta and the Bannermen ended up going first in the production, and then he was given the sort of there were some elements that needed to be production elements that needed to be part of his script. Delta and the Bannermen, these last 6 episodes were going to be 2 3-part adventures, and Delta and the Bannermen was going to be all shot on location, and then whatever Ian Briggs story was going to be all shot on a studio. So he needed to make sure that he came up with an idea that would fit that. So he ended up coming up with this idea about a frozen planet and a treasure map and all of this stuff. And at first, the villain was actually like a 14-year-old financial genius.
What?
Yeah.
like Richie Rich.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
In the canon where Richie Rich is rich because of his smarts, not his parents' smarts.
Right. So at first that was going to be the deal. Obviously that all changed, and part of it had to do with there was like a general feeling, especially after Delta and the Bannermen, that sort of like took the kooky comedic elements of the start of Sylvester McCoy's era on Doctor Who and just sort of amped them all up to 11. And so with Delta and the Bannermen, they're like, okay, well, we're going to see how that works. Now let's kind of dial that back a little bit. So they cut out all the references to the Doctor like screwing up like sayings and mixing stuff like that up, and they tried to make it a little less wacky. I don't know if they necessarily succeeded. But they were sort of like starting to like try and lean away from the wackiness just to see, what they could get away with, I guess, as far as what this era of the show was going to be like.
Sure.
That definitely comes into play more so next season. This being the season finale of season 24, I think.
Yes, sir.
So this is the season finale, season 24. Season 25 is when we start getting like more of a serious Seventh Doctor, or at least a little more reflective Seventh Doctor, and not so like outwardly comedic. And that all started here. Again,
Well, that's a goddamn shame.
It's small steps into that direction.
Okay,
but it's definitely there. It's more the comedy from this episode, I would argue, is mostly ironic, as opposed to Delta and the Bannerman.
I guess that's true. I guess in retrospect that is true.
Yeah. Delta and the Bannerman was like more like, this is wacky and fun, and this one is like, no, this is serious. We're just not pulling it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually, we ended up with what we got. And one of the main things was that, if you guys remember when we talked about, I mean, this was like a long time ago, but when we talked about Delta and the Bannerman, there was a character in Delta and the Bannerman that was sort of lined up to be the Doctor's new companion, or at least as a possibility of the Doctor's new companion. And then the other one was going to be the character in this, who at first was going to be named Alf. But yeah, her name was going to be Alf, but Briggs didn't like that name.
No, why?
So he renamed her, and this is the most like, hello, fellow kids kind of thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah. Because Briggs was a drama instructor at a youth theater, and he heard slang that all of the students were speaking, and they would say things like Ace. And so he named the character after the slang that he heard his students speaking.
Mm-hmm. That's the most perfect origin that character could have had.
Yeah.
That's like that's like Professor X, or no, that's like Professor Utonium elbowing Professor X. Mm-hmm. Chemical X into the.
Yeah.
Man, I missed every part of that.
It's fine. I got you, Powerpuff Girls.
Sure.
So Ace was a combination, was inspired by a combination of 3 of his students at this school, and Judy Garland's performance as Dorothy Gale in Wizard of Oz, which is why Ace is named Dorothy. So there you go. But yeah, when it came down to Ray, the Welsh tomboy character that we met in Delta and the Bannerman, and Ace, who we meet here, they basically came down to they didn't know which was going to be which, and Bonnie Langford wasn't saying whether or not she was going to stay for another season or not. And eventually she was like, okay, I'll come on for another season, but only for one story. And they're like, oh no, that's fine. And then they just wrote her out here. It should be important to note, Bonnie Langford at the time was not smiled upon as a companion. It seems that Doctor Who fans in the 80s really hated her.
I can kind of see, she's not a character that I can imagine a lot of like young boys would like. Mm-hmm. Cause she kind of like that kind of stupid way of young boys have of thinking, where like, oh, well, she's not a cool kind of girl.
Right. Well, she also has an element of, it feels like she's constantly, I mean, look, you could say, well, it is a children's show, Scott, but she does have a vibe of like being a children's show host.
Right.
Yeah. Like I remember as a kid being very wary of anything that seemed to be like directed at me as a kid. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the way kids are instinctively a little bit wary of like Barney. Mm-hmm. You were made by an adult for me to like, weren't you? Whereas
I thought part of the reason why that they didn't like her as much as well was because Bonnie Langford was like a stage actress before this, and she did a lot of like children's productions. And that's why.
That might be part of it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely in her performance, though. Yeah. On top of everything else. Because, like, you look at Billie Piper, and she was a pop star prior to getting cast in Doctor Who, and everyone was like, harumph. And then she was in it, and they were like, all right, I guess she's fine. So it's possible to overcome that. It's just that Bonnie Langford did herself no favors in her performance to overcome that. It was really like it seemed like she came to this job thinking this was a children's show and she should act like it. Because like at any moment you're sort of waiting for her to turn to the camera and be like, "Do you see the doctor?" She just has that vibe about her.
She said, like she's sitting on a big old comfy couch.
Yep. She could totally be the host of Big Comfy Couch. Yeah, absolutely.
I will say I love Mel in her own, but like in kind of like a looking back kind of, I can imagine. Yeah, maybe if I was like a dumb boy, I would have been like, she's like my little sister. I don't like it, but like I will say, I think in this episode, I was genuinely kind of sad when Mel left, because I think Mel teamed with Ace was so special and so delightful. I really think that like Ace complimented Melness really well, and I wish we had more adventures of those two.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that. I wish there was a way that Big Finish could do that. I mean, I guess they could, because I guess Mel is still out in space somewhere, so they could bump into each other again and go on adventures.
The weirdest visual ever.
But I do agree with you. I think that they work really well together, and it's unfortunate that we only get this one story.
Even visually, just the image of like Mel looking very like, I'm a little girl detective and I'm gonna find out and just Ace with like her hands in her pockets and like her pins on her jacket. They're just like really fun visually.
Yeah, for sure. So they wrote out Bonnie Langford, they wrote out Mel, they brought in Ace. And in fact, they reused an old because it happened at the last minute in the production schedule. They just reused an audition sequence that they wrote, like audition sides, and that's what they used as her her introduction to the TARDIS. Like, let's go on adventures together. And if you watch it knowing that, it does kind of feel like it's a weird. Like, what does this have to do with anything that they just did? But that's why.
Yeah, it's like, remember those weird pages that leaked when they were auditioning the 12th Doctor?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Totally. Yeah. The other thing that's notable about this story is that Nathan Turner thought it would be fun to basically rip off every movie ever made. And in this story, so
just this once,
So Kane is named after, of course, Charles Foster Kane, and his little assistant Zana is named after Kane's estate, Xanadu.
Oh Lord!
Yeah, we have
the second movie.
That's like peak 80s.
Yeah. We've got the Iceworld cafeteria, which is based off the Mos Eisley Cantina, except there's no aliens in it. There's
like an empty food court.
Holographic messages from the dead, which is a reference to Jor-El in Superman, and of course there's the Nosferatu ship, and most notably is Kane's death, which is, of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It would be like if I wrote a novel and my main character was named like John Two Cities.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong.
There's that bit with the from Alien too, like just straight.
Oh right, Alien. Yeah, of course, the xenomorph, of course, yeah.
And Doctor Who ripping off Alien is just an irony that is so delicious. It's practically like a fragrance.
We actually created this first, so whatever. We're just gonna take it because it's ours. Yeah. So
it's
anyway,
like when Justice League does Darkseid eventually.
Oh, and then I think the real question that we all have, there is a bit of history on the famous cliffhanger of part one.
The cliffhanger.
Yeah, and let's not talk about like what actually happens until we get there.
Oh
but
my God.
But the behind the scenes explanation is basically it was written in such a way that Chris Clow, the director, had no idea what it was trying to suggest. No one could figure out what it was, and Ian Briggs wasn't around to explain, so they just shot something. But what it was actually supposed to be was that he was supposed to come to a like basically he's following the path, and then he comes to the end of a path, but the map is continuing forward. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, I guess I have to go down, but like that's not made clear like what is exactly happening. And then they're like, yeah, and then I guess we got to do this. But the idea was that he was supposed to fall, but they didn't know how to make him fall, and they just couldn't. Yeah. So we got what we got.
You know that thing where, and I'm speaking from my perspective, so it's like if you've ever been like in a play or like a film set, but really any kind of project where just everyone's standing.
Yeah.
And just like, what do we do? Like what? I don't know. I'm just trying to picture that moment.
Yeah.
Of like pure, like, okay, there's no parachute.
Yeah.
Or like we have to make a parachute.
Yeah.
What do we do?
It had to do with a few things, because it had to do with them not really understanding the script, and the set designers definitely not understanding the script, and designing a set that has absolutely like no bearing. Like they created like this long catwalk when it was really supposed to just be he walks down a hall onto the edge of a cliff, and that's not. There's like railings, like there's not supposed to be railings, like all of that. So it's a bunch of things all combined of just a lack of communication between everyone on this production that ended with this absurd cliffhanger.
You know, Doctor Who is really one of the few shows, like maybe like Saturday Night Live, but like watching it as in the context of this is a thing people made is almost as fun as just watching it. Like I constantly love watching Doctor Who and seeing like, you know, like the xenomorph in this episode, the dragon. And I was just so aware that was made by people. Yeah. And completely 100% like that's a costume. But it made me love it more, because like, oh my God, they hired a dude, some poor like British guy in the 80s had to like wear that for a day. And, like kind of act, I guess.
Kind of act.
Like under what are you truly like? What can you do? It's so top heavy.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about episode 1.
Dragonfire Part 1, written by Ian Briggs, directed by Chris Clow, produced by John Nathan Turner, script edited by Andrew Cartmel. Air date November 23rd, 1987. Iceworld, a space trading colony on the planet of Sabatros, is under the tyrannical control of Kane, who has begun freezing and storing criminals and mercenaries in the efforts of gathering a frozen army. He is also having an ice statue made. Landing on Sabatros, the Seventh Doctor and Mel arrive at a food court. They encounter Sabalam Glitz, an old companion they met back in season 25. Glitz is searching for a treasure hidden on Iceworld using a map he won playing cards. The treasure is supposedly guarded by a dragon. The Doctor and Blitz go off in search of the treasure, unaware that the treasure map is actually being tracked by Kane, who also seeks the treasure. Mel stays behind at the food court, where she meets a waitress called Ace. Ace decided to end her career as a waitress by pouring a milkshake on a rude customer, as well as her boss. Impressed and possibly envious at Ace's ability to fight back against a boss or authority figure, Mel decides to follow her new friend back to her home. There, Mel learns that Ace isn't from Sabatros at all, but is an Earth girl from the 20th century, just like her. One day, while conducting chemistry experiments alone in her bedroom, Ace accidentally created a time storm that swept her up and landed her on Savatros. Mel has no reason not to believe her. Ace and Mel use explosives to destroy an ice block that has caused an ice jam and are quickly arrested and sent to Kane. Kane sees potential for great destruction and terror in Ace and asks her to join his army. Ace responds by creating an explosion caused by Nitro-9, using it as a distraction for she and Mel to escape. While running away, they come face to face with the dragon of Iceworld. Meanwhile, the Doctor falls over a railing, hanging only to his umbrella for dear life.
So the first thing that I want to talk about is I am just... One of the things that I really love about this season of Doctor Who is that the first I guess the last 3 stories of this season, not the first one.
Yeah.
But Time in the Rani aside, the thing that I really love about this season is how the Doctor and Mel just keep appearing in like the first one they end up in like an apartment block, and then in the second one they're like on a vacation bus, and then on this one they end up in like a frozen shopping mall. Like there's something just very 80s about everything that they do this season, and I just really like it. Like it makes everything feel a little more lived in. Like I just really like how they're interacting with their surroundings and the places that they chose to go this season. I just really like that.
Yeah, like every episode we've seen so far, again, I guess with the exception of Time in the Rani, they really all do have this kind of like 80s food court mall aesthetic.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I really love that. I think that's cool. I wish we could do something like that again.
In the way that Grindhouse sort of made a comeback.
Yeah, there's a comic book story. I think it's a 6th Doctor comic book story where they go to like an intergalactic food court, and it's just the most fun. It's just the most fun. They go to an intergalactic food court, and like the mall security are Cybermen, and it's just this it's just this absurd romp, and it's so much fun. And I really like it when Doctor Who unapologetically does a thing, like references like an Earth concept, like a food court, and they're not like trying to make it look like another thing, like, oh well, this is an alien food court, so it's gonna look different. No, they just literally made it a food court, and it's great. And like here, it's like no, they just made a mall, like it's just a mall, but it's frozen. And I really love that. I think that's cool. I don't know.
Well, I'd
love to see more of that.
It makes for like really cool world building, because instead of jumping from like weird military spaceship to weird military spaceship every episode, you're like seeing what aliens do on their day off, which is the best. So
yeah,
I agree with that.
I really love that.
The idea of Doctor Who existing as like a PG Rick and Morty is very pleasing to me.
Yeah, totally. Oh man, I love that idea. That's really great. That's a great way to like, pitch like a take on the show, So the diner or the cafe that they go to.
Sure. It feels weird calling it anything other than a food court, like specifically like an outdoor mall food court.
Right. But they have waitresses, so it's not like a food court.
That's true. That's very true.
But yeah, we re-meet Glitz, and Glitz is the thing that I love about Glitz is he is not an 80s guy. He's a 70s guy that's been like shoehorned into the 80s.
Yep.
He's like, nope.
And I love that. Like from everything from his puby perm and just
his
wardrobe. Just everything about him.
His name is Glitz.
His name is Glitz. Oh man,
he was that dude that was still in Studio 54, like in 1988.
Yeah, for sure. I just love that he's like a little overweight. Like just everything about him is just so perfect. It's just Oh man.
He's like what Han Solo actually would look like in real life.
Yes.
If
Totally.
if you led that kind of life, you wouldn't look like Harrison Ford. Like you would have some serious city miles on you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like Glitz, if Glitz was cast today, he would be Danny McBride, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also, the thing I love about Glitz in this story, because he's great in his original story, but he's a little meaner in his original story.
Mm-hmm.
Like here, he's a little chilled out, like a little more mellow, and it makes him more fun.
Yeah, he's kind of got
character.
like a Harry Mudd thing going on in this.
Yeah, totally.
I have a continuity question because I haven't
Scott.
seen Trial of a Time Lord in a while. So has he like met Mel ever? Because like that first story, he shows up and it's Perry. So I don't remember if he shows up in the back half of Trial of a Time Lord where Mel is, or
Yeah, he does. He does.
recognizes Mel,
Okay.
but not the Doctor.
No,
Okay.
he does. He comes back in the last story.
Okay.
In the second Robert Holmes one, I think he comes back in the two-parter.
The two-parter. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. If it's not that one, then it's just the Mel story, like the second or the third.
Yeah, because I don't remember him in the
Story
because
within
that's
the
like
story.
the Agatha Christie like Murder on the Orient Express
Right.
knockoff.
Yeah, I think it might actually. I think it might actually be the Robert Holmes half of the finale.
Okay.
Is what he's in?
Yeah,
if
because
I'm
I
not
was like,
mistaken.
because I always remember Mysterious Planet, but I'm like, Perry's the one in that, so I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I almost for a second, until I remember that he does in fact come back, for a second I thought this was like a Wrath of Khan situation.
Where they
like,
just retconned it. They're like, oh yeah, we totally hung out that one time.
Right, yeah. No, you locked me in the bathroom, remember? And that's why I wasn't in that episode. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I really like Glitz in this story a lot, to the point where I think it's weird. I mean, and we'll talk about it in part 3, but I think the conclusion of his story is strange, and I would have been very interested to see him become a companion for a little while. Just because that's sort of, I don't know, like that's sort of like just wild card, kind of, I hate to use the term Loki, but that's sort of like Loki wild card idea on the TARDIS.
Yeah.
I just find really, I think would be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Now that it's funny you say Loki, I believe all three of us have seen the movie Thor Ragnarok by now, and that actually had a very early Doctor Who aesthetic, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
Everything was very clunky and plastic, but
Yeah.
like in a
the second
deliberate
half.
way.
Or the second
Yeah,
episode.
but that's that. Although in the case of Thor Ragnarok, that's a Jack Kirby thing. So,
Okay.
yeah. But in any event, I do love all of these restaurant scenes, and I love meeting Ace, and I love that being based on Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. I just find it so fascinating that her version of Oz is that she's just like been thrown onto another planet, and she's so chill about it that she's just like, I'll get a job, like it's fine, whatever.
Like, when you find out her backstory, okay, well, I mean, just cards on the table. You guys are right. You know me so well. I love Ace.
Yeah.
When you find out that her origin is that she got swept up in a time storm and is from the 20th, like, yeah, you're like, she is acting like this. Like, I thought she was just going to be like someone that lives on that planet, like as a teenager.
She's like, you know what she is? She's the original Star-Lord.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, she's like if we met Star-Lord at age 16.
Yeah. That's and in a way, mentally we sort of did, but
That's true. Yeah,
but
like like you meet her and she's still like the way she was talking really was like, oh yeah, she's from outer space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, she's like the original Star-Lord. It's kind of cool.
Okay, well look,
before someone yells at me, obviously, we know that's not technically true because Star-Lord was created prior to this in Marvel Comics, but whatever, go screw. I'm talking about the movie.
The idea, okay, well, she named herself after her catchphrase.
Which is amazing.
Deeply amazing, and also very Star-Lord-like.
Yeah, very, yes.
Oh, man.
Well, he named himself
radical.
after. Well, yeah, he named himself. That's good.
I love her. Good. She's like a Pex. She's like my dream of Pex being a companion.
True. She just keeps getting better too. And the great thing about Ace is that she never goes away. I mean, like, she's still the Seventh Doctor's companion in Big Finish. So, like, I'm glad you like her because she's never going to leave.
Wait, what is she doing when he's gunned down?
Well, she's gone at that point, but we haven't gotten to that point in Big Finish.
Oh, it's it's one of those. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. So, like, Big Finish, the Seventh Doctor stories that are still coming out are still with Ace.
Which is so charming.
Uh-huh. She's like the longest companion ever.
Yeah. So upon meeting her, she's just a bratty teenage waitress. It's crazy to me that, so the actress upon playing, at the time of playing her was 25, and she does not, I don't know, the idea of her being 16 also just added to her. She, in kind of like a Susan kind of way, like weirdly ageless.
Right. Well, the 16-year-old thing, which we don't find out about until like later, I think part 3. But in any event, I mean, it's such a minor detail, we can bring it up whenever. Mm-hmm. But the fact that she's 16, when I found that out, because I'd forgotten that she was 16, that's Doctor. Maybe let's not have 16-year-old companions. That seems strange to me.
Well, it does that weird thing that television is still doing, where they insist on casting, 25, 26-year-old, even like 24-year-old women, and be like, you're going to play like a 15-year-old person.
Well, there's no reason for her to be 16. She can be 18.
It's such a weird detail. Like, I mean, I guess the older she is, the weirder her behavior becomes.
I guess. I don't know.
If I met someone who was 25 and acted like, well, no, that's not true, I would immediately befriend them. I would never want to not hang out with them. I would become like the Alana to their Abby. She loves explosives, which is one of the silliest things. But she doesn't just love explosives. She also measures them on the Richter scale.
Yeah.
She's like, that's a blah, 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 blah bomb, which measures a 9 on the Richter scale. I was like, I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I
think you're just saying words.
Yeah, because I don't think that's anything anyone cares about. Also, you're on an alien planet. What the hell do they know about what a Richter scale is?
I know. I love that the alien temperature is Celsius.
Yeah.
Just like, just the computer just telling you what the temperature is in Celsius, like it's the most normal thing in the world.
I mean, you can I don't know. You can at least explain away that the TARDIS is like converting it.
Okay, yeah.
To a certain extent, you can explain that. The Richter scale thing, that's literally named after a scientist named Richter who came up with it, who's from Earth. So that's like she's literally saying something completely meaningless. Yeah. It would be like these people.
It would be like if someone on the planet asked for a Kleenex.
Yeah. It would be, but it would also be like if somebody it would also be like if someone was like, like two aliens were just like, are we passing the Bechdel test right now? And you're like, I don't, good on you for pointing that out, but also, how do you know what that is?
It's a woke alien.
Yeah, it's a woke alien.
It's affecting genders of other species. I think it is my responsibility as a screenwriter to be aware of that.
Yeah. So this story is really just one glorious moment after another. Is there anything else in episode 1 that you guys are? particularly love?
Because you said there were no aliens in the cafe, but there are like a ton of like weird stuff happening in the background, and there's this weird bat puppet that's just like constantly in frame and like shaking like the whole time. It's like a poor man's Muppet. It's so creepy. And it's like constantly in the background, and I couldn't stop looking at it. I was trying really hard to pay attention to their conversation, but I was like, what is that thing?
Glitz's ship is called the Nosferatu, which is the most 70s name for a ship ever.
Yep. No, I mean that's it though, right? It's like when you like Glitz is such like, you know, he just you know that he just like jams out to Zeppelin and just
Glitz legit could be Glitz could be in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and fit right in.
He could have been in Thor Ragnarok and fit right in.
Yeah, just on Sakaar, just like flying around.
Yeah, he's just like in the Game Master's coven or whatever you would call that. whatever you would call that thing.
The box.
Yeah.
Ace, the storm in her bedroom was caused by a chemistry experiment.
Yes.
So Ace was in her bedroom doing a chemistry experiment, and she caused a time storm, and she woke up on Iceworld. It's just nothing about this character isn't amazing.
I will. They very quickly gloss over what her origin is, and they never really make reference to it ever again in the show. But my God, every time I'm reminded of where she comes from, it is just incredible. It's no wonder she becomes a doctor's companion. Like, what else is she going to do? Like, she's amazing.
In her bedroom, not even like she didn't even sneak into her high school lab or something like that.
No, well, and the thing that I love about the chemistry experiment, she's trying to make an explosion, and instead she makes a time storm. Like, what? How does that even happen? She loves bombs.
I love Ace.
She's
so
the best.
much.
Dragonfire, Part 2. Written by Ian Briggs. Directed by Chris Clow. Produced by John Nathan Turner. Script edited by Andrew Cartmel. Air date November 30th, 1987. The dragon fires laser beams at Mel and Ace, which leads them to believe that this dragon might not be a dragon. Glitz wishes to return to his ship, the Nosferatu, and gives the treasure map to the Doctor. Back on Iceworld, Kane's staff members are beginning to show signs of discontent. Two officers, Belaz and Kraukser, plot to overthrow Kane, who then kills both of them. Also, his statue is finished. Down in the ice caves, the Doctor and Glitz meet Ace and Mel, still being terrorized by the laser dragon. Kane's frozen soldiers are sent to destroy the Doctor and his companions, but even they are destroyed by the dragon's lasers. The dragon takes the Doctor and the others down to some sort of control room. There, a pre-recorded hologram message explains that Kane was once a dangerous criminal who was exiled to Iceworld, which is actually a huge spacecraft, and the treasure everyone's been looking for is a crystal inside the dragon's head. Kane needs that crystal to activate the Iceworld's engines and escape the entire planet. And Kane hears all of this, so now he's just gonna do that.
So in episode 2, we already had Kane in episode 1 introduced, and he tries to demolition man some soldiers.
Sure.
And then he like, it's really weird because he freezes them, but that just sort of turns them into zombies.
Yeah, like ice zombies.
Yeah, they lose their memory and like their humanity.
I feel like I saw something recently with a similar plot line to that. Where people, what is it?
No, sorry. No, I said the Florida Project.
Oh no, where not that recently. Where people sign up to give. Oh, it's Dollhouse. That's what I'm thinking of. Dollhouse. He's dollhousing them.
Oh my god. He is.
Only, they're only ice zombies. They're not a multitude of other things. They're just ice zombies. But it's the same thing. They sign up and they work for him, and that's what they did. Mm-hmm. So whatever.
He's like the Amy Acker.
Yeah, and also Kane is literally Mr. Freeze. Like he has to live on Iceworld because he can't survive high temperatures, and even Iceworld is technically too warm for him, so he has to go in his little ice coffin and get like refrozen, so that he can survive for a little bit, and like will just gradually thaw out and then have to freeze back up again.
Huh. Talk about a snowflake, am I right?
Hey.
But he's literally Mr. Freeze, which is really, really silly and fun, and I love that. And that's how they defeat him too, is the same way you defeat Mr. Freeze, which is basically just make things warmer.
You promised to help his ex-wife.
Yeah.
Aww.
Right.
Nora.
You promised to help his ex-wife, and then you throw hot water at him. Yeah.
Every time.
But yeah, he's even, speaking of like an ex-wife, he's like literally making, like, he's having a guy, he's commissioned a frozen statue of some woman.
Oh my god.
That's true.
That is my favorite part of part 2, because he's like, oh, it's so beautiful, but the statue's face literally looks like a potato. And
yeah.
It's like, I understand that you're trying to go, like, you're just trying to go for something, but it's just, it falls so flat and it's so spectacular, and I love it so much. Because they're selling it 100% earnestly, and it's so gosh darn silly.
Oh, it's magical. It's magical. And then we get introduced to our friend, the friendliest xenomorph.
Oh, man.
Who just looks like, it really looks like he's right out of Disney's Alien.
It looks like a middle school was doing Alien.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 kids' jobs. Their whole job was just making the xenomorph suit.
It's magical. And we find out like it's a robot also. Like it's not even a living creature. It's like a robot thing.
How did the legend get started? It's literally the way dragon myth started on Earth, where sailors would just see something and be like, dragon. And then you find out, no, it was a narwhal, or it was a whale, or
it was a guy in a bad xenomorph costume.
Yeah, a robot.
A robot, yeah.
Dragon.
Oh man. Again, I don't think there was communication going on. Like it was just like, yeah, we need you to make an alien creature. Oh, okay, like Alien. And then they make it like, oh, it's supposed to be a dragon. Well, why did you tell me that? I don't know. It's fine.
It's like, imagine if they drained Loch Ness and you just see like the skeleton of a hippopotamus. Like, how did any of the... Where did we get any of the way that it looked from?
Amazing. But
yeah.
Oh, there's this great line from the Doctor. It's like one of my favorite, because it's just like he said it, and I just paused and I just went, what? Like there's this great part where Glitz is literally being like, no, we shouldn't do that. Like, what does that matter? And the Doctor just whips his head at Glitz and goes, does a grain of sand matter? Right? And then moves on. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
You're just saying that to end the conversation.
Like, even Glitz is just like, I don't know. The grain of sand. I don't know. What?
It's kind of like in Bruges, is like you're an inanimate effing object. Like it just, when you think about it, like it makes no sense. On the top, so I just you mentioned like a little thing you noticed, and I remembered a little thing that I noticed. Back in part 1, when they're at the food court, the Doctor is seen reading a book, and I recognized the book as a copy of The Doctor's Dilemma, which is a play from 1908 by George Bernard Shaw.
Oh,
Interesting.
And it's like a little problem play about a doctor who has like limited medical resources, and it's like a parable about like, you know, being a private medicine doctor, but then also it being like a business and a vocation. And we did it back in college, which is how I knew what that was, and I just saw him reading it, and I was like, oh man, that's fun. The Doctor's Dilemma.
Is that thematically relevant to the story at all?
No, I think they just saw that it had the Doctor in the title.
Okay, fair enough.
I thought about it because I remember the play pretty well, and I'm like, oh, does this have anything to do? And I was like, no, there's no dragon, there's no tough little girl that made a time storm in her bedroom. Dragonfire Part 3, written by Ian Briggs, directed by Chris Clow, produced by John Nathan Turner. Script edited by Andrew Cartmel. Air date December 7th, 1987. Kane sends his forces to bring him the crystal inside the dragon's head, and even blows up Blitz's ship, the Nosferatu, while people were inside of it. Kane's men finally kill the dragon, but are killed themselves when the crystal discharges a blast of energy. The Doctor takes the crystal, and Kane responds by taking Ace. He then offers to bargain with the Doctor. In exchange for Ace's safety, the Doctor must hand over the crystal to Kane. Kane's plan is revealed to be meaningless, however, when he learns that he's been a prisoner on Iceworld for so long that his planet no longer exists. Kane then opens up the windows of his spaceship and kills himself. Mel decides that this is as good a time as any to bounce, deciding to travel with Blitz through all of space, but none of time. Ace and the Doctor decide to become traveling companions, and a beautiful friendship was born.
So let's talk about part 3.
Yeah.
Unless, is there anything else in part 2?
I don't think so. Oh, I really
Okay.
liked the Doctor like arguing philosophy with that guard because it sounded like whatever. Oh my God, what's the term for made up science words? You know what I'm talking about? Like
pseudoscience?
yeah, like something like that. But like when people are just like saying gobbledygook to sound smart, it sounded like that.
Like when they would do stuff like that in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh, I forget what that's called.
It's
I know what you're talking about.
But it sounded
though.
like that for philosophy because either someone like was a philosophy major and just like whipped that stuff out, or like they just made stuff up. And I really, really liked it.
And also, not for nothing, but that guard is a close target.
Yeah.
He was getting all up in the Doctor's business while they were debating philosophy.
Oh, man.
It was interesting. So episode 3, Ace's reaction to the TARDIS, I really like. I mean, we've seen this. We've seen like people reacting to the TARDIS for the first time a million times. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I like about hers is that it's sort of like instant, like, oh, okay, that's what this is, which is good. Like I like it when they don't make a huge deal about it because I don't know. There's only so many times that where like as a viewer I want to see that. But it really only works when we are also seeing the new interior of the TARDIS for the first time. I think that's when it works the best. Like when Amy saw the TARDIS for the first time, and it's like, oh yeah, because we were seeing it for the first time too. But in Ace's case, what I like about that was like they show up at the box. In Ace's case, they show up at the box, and she's like, "I thought we were going back to your spaceship." And she's like, "This is our spaceship." And she's like, "Oh, like, you know, don't mess with me. Come on, this is ridiculous." And she's like, "No, seriously." And they get in, and she's like, "All right, well, pile in." And then when they enter the TARDIS, like when you go into the interior, she's like moving, like her whole body language is like a person who's getting ready to step into a crowded elevator. And I just really like that about the way that she reacts to it. I don't know. Like, it was very, I thought, like, as an actress, I think that Sophie Aldred, like, did a really good job of sort of thinking that out about like how to play that. And I really liked it. It was good.
I didn't notice that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about it now.
Yeah. No, it was really good.
Just a fun story. And like, it's not, it's goofy, but it's not dumb.
Yeah.
No, it's not dumb. It's fun. So Mel deciding to, like, it's just out of nowhere deciding it's time to leave.
Truly out of nowhere.
Yeah, truly out of nowhere. Deciding, like, well, I think it's about time that I leave. And the doctor's like, okay, bye. And she's like, wait, I have things that I want to say. He's like, no. I don't, nope. Haven't you said enough? Get out of here. Bye.
If a friend ever was that blasé about me, like, leaving their life, like, it's like almost like Colin Baker level mean.
Yeah.
He just doesn't care.
All right, head out. Time's an illusion, baby.
And then Glitz gets a new ship, and he calls it the Nosferatu 2. The Nosferatu 2.
That's true.
Yeah, the Nosferatu 2.
The worst name. The one name that you couldn't have picked.
Oh yeah, no, it's horrible. But it's great in that sort of like lame, ironic way.
Yeah, he probably just spray painted a 2 onto his ship.
Yeah. I really just want to see a remake of Guardians of the Galaxy, or a pre-make, I guess, with like Glitz as Yondu and Ace as Star-Lord.
Yeah, no, like I don't want this crew to break up. You have like the fun, nerdy kind of like idealistic doctor. You have like the go get 'em, me too, Girl Scout. You have like Little Miss friggin' Oppenheimer able to create time storms in her bedroom. And then you have like chilled out 70s cocaine space pirate.
Yep. And then, okay, so the weirdest thing though about them, Mel being like, okay, well, I'm leaving because I'm gonna be Glitz's assistant now on the Nosferatu 2. I don't understand why she wants to work with Glitz. That seems weird. But I guess like she's like, oh, I'm gonna keep you on point, and he's like, oh no,
like, that doesn't even sound fun.
Like, yeah, well, but. Okay, so I don't know how in continuity this is.
Okay.
But there is Doctor Who stuff out there in the world that's not fan fiction. That is officially sanctioned, licensed Doctor Who stuff, in which Mel and Glitz are like a married space pirate couple.
Ooh, no, don't like that at all.
No, yeah, that's weird, right? That's super weird. Also, I mean, their children would have just the curliest hair imaginable. It just...
They cancel each other out, and then all their kids would have straight hair.
They have completely straight hair.
That's how genetics works, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. What in the world? Yeah, so I don't like that. I don't like that she ends up with Glitz. Just at all. Like, romanticism aside, I don't like that she ends up with Glitz like in her life. But yeah, it's weird. And then Ace is like, yeah, I'm just gonna come with you, and he's like, oh, cool. And then
whatever.
That's it.
I don't get attached to people.
She's like, well, I did just see you say bye to Mel in that really like weird way, but I'm going to be your friend now. And then I'm never going to leave so that I never have to have that conversation with you. So I'm just gonna stay with you forever because I saw how you treat the companions who leave.
Wow, you don't. Okay, well, I'm gonna ride this out.
Oh man, and Kane's face melts like the Nazis.
Oh
in
man,
Raiders.
It was great.
Forgot about that.
It's literally like they bought the same model somehow.
Yeah, it really is.
It's somehow able to. It almost distracts you from how gory it is for a Doctor Who story, because it is so fake. But if it didn't look fake, it would be really out of place for the show.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's not as, at least it's not as bloody as it is in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
So there's at least that, because like the concept of it is that he's like literally melting because he needs cold.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's a really this story's great. I really love this.
I'm bummed that
this is 3 Seventh Doctor stories in a row that we have really loved.
Yeah, it's definitely the strongest era of the classic show for me so far in terms of like hit ratio.
Yeah. It's interesting that this season is looked down upon by Doctor Who fandom.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People hate this. Everyone says like the Seventh Doctor's era doesn't get good until Remembrance of the Daleks.
I mean, I prefer.
Oh, is that the one where they reflect on what's happened and how they can change?
Yes.
I prefer McCoy's later stuff, but because he has a chance to really figure out what his Doctor is about. But I don't know. It's just fun, stupid Doctor Who this season.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love this. I'm going to miss this era, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, next time we check in with the Seventh Doctor, it'll be Remembrance of the Daleks, which is a pretty substantial story
Grenade
in the Seventh
launcher.
Doctor era.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited
stuff.
too, guys.
Some good Ace. Ace just taking down Daleks. That's a lot of fun. With like a bat.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
She's gonna like wrap her legs around one and just it's gonna like spin.
I mean, I think you literally just described an action sequence in Remembrance of the Daleks.
I don't know if that's an action sequence.
It is for this show.
Get her off. Not fun.
Stop hitting me.
You mentioned the mall cop Cybermen. I think the Daleks would be great mall cops. If they had to
For some reason I see them more as like museum security guards than mall cops.
Yeah, with like the white shirt over their frame.
Yes.
With like the badge and like they have like the little guard hat.
Yeah.
All clear.
And a flashlight.
Yeah. Who's there?
Yeah.
Click, click, click.
Who's there?
Who's there? It's the Dalek Museum.
Oh man.
All right.
You mean Asylum of the Daleks?
Well, the list of stuff we're gonna do if we ever get to do stuff for the show just keeps growing.
It's true. Very true. So yeah, we're gonna be doing. We're gonna do Eighth Doctor. We're gonna be back with the Eighth Doctor story, The Stones of Venice. That being an audio adventure, I'm not sure if we're gonna do the recaps, and so I'm gonna take this time to ask everyone listening, what do you think of that? We've done it all season. We're not gonna do it with the new Who stuff, just the classic Who stuff, and it's a lot of work. So we want to know, is it worth it? Do you guys really love it? Or would you rather us just go back to the way we did it before, where we sort of incorporate our recaps into our conversation? Let us know. It's easier to record this way, but it's way harder to edit. Yeah. So it's, if it's worth it, cool. If it's not, and you guys are like, I can take it or leave it, then we just won't do it anymore.
Back to the old way.
Back to the old way, yeah.
Work for Doctor Who.
Let us know. Yeah. Let us know what you think, because we probably won't do it for Stones of Venice. We'll probably recap as we go, because it's like an audio show, and it feels weird to like audio recap an audio show. I don't know. It just seems weird. It's like, I don't know. It's
like making a movie to do a film review.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Totally. Just seems weird. So we're not going to do that. So yeah, let us know, and you can do that by joining the Facebook group, the Doctor's Companion Facebook group. That'll you can go there and let us know if you like this or not. You can also tell us on Twitter at TDC Pod, and you can email the show, contact at thedoctorscompanion.us, all that stuff. So go check out all of that. Let us know what you think of the recaps that we've done all season. Let us know if it's worth it. And we'll be back next time with the 8th Doctor and the Stones of Venice.